Okay, considerations to prevent injury. This should be done straight after the kind of warm up and cool down, and they're very interlinked, and there'll be some crossover. Again, some of the past questions we've seen about this is what might you do before a game as a ref, as a coach, as a player to prevent injury. So I'll kind of try and link that in for as best I can for you. Okay, so some aspects are general to all training types. The training type intensity should match the training purpose. So there's no point in going for a very slow jog as a warm-up and then straight into anaerobic sprinting of the game. You want to build up. You might start with a jog as a warm-up, but then if you're going to be sprinting in the game, you definitely need to do some sprinting in your training to make sure that it's applicable. Okay, the following factors should be taken into account when you're training. You should always complete a warm-up. Okay, overtraining should be avoided. It's something at this time of year, it's marathon season. If you're watching this kind of spring, summer, and you get lots of people overtraining, you get things called shin splints. You get people's knees start to swell up. You get muscles that start to kind of not work correctly, and that's overtraining. And you get that a lot with marathon running. You can get that with anything else. Some professional football players, you see the coaches that he's overtrained a bit. We need to give him a few days off. He's played too many games. Appropriate clothing and footwear. Something that kind of gets taken for granted, but yeah, good pair of trainers, good pair of boots, good pair of whatever you need is clearly going to help you in your games and make sure you don't get injured. Hydration, stretches, okay, making sure that we're ready there, and correct technique. Lots of techniques can be taught wrongly. You end up getting injured. I know, for instance, with javelin, that if the javelin technique is not correct, then you can end up with tennis elbow, which you really saw in the part of your elbow. If you're tackling in rugby and you haven't been taught correctly, you might end up getting knocked out, injuring yourself, breaking bones if you don't do things properly. And appropriate rest, allowing your muscle and body to recover in between sessions. So some things which are more specific. If you're going to be doing a session on lots of jumping in football, then obviously you need to stretch up your quads and your hamstrings and your gastrocnemius to make sure that they're ready. Overtraining should be avoided. You don't want to lift all the time at your 1 rep max. We've put in the example here. Again, clothing, footwear, we're fine. Making sure that it suits whatever sport it is. You choose a sport, you should be able to think of footwear that's really good for that sport, or clothing that's really good for that sport, and the opposite. Taping, bracing, you'll see that a lot in rugby and football now, where they're taping up old injuries to try and prevent things. In wrists for weightlifting, just to kind of help keep the support of maybe the weakest joints in this, wrists, knees, things like that. Hydration again, technique again, spotters if you're weight training, that's somebody that's there to grab it if you get in any trouble, and again, rest. And in the lesson we'll be thinking about things like this. How would it be different from a weight trainer to a circuit trainer to continuous running?